I'm Kinglink and it's the end of the year, which means it's time for the Humble Choice December 2021 review. It's been a great year and we're ending on a massive bundle, but before we get to that, I just want to say two things. First, I broke 3,000 subscribers. I'm staggered, so I want to say thank you all for subscribing from the bottom of my heart. I quite literally couldn't have hit that goal without any of your support. Second, I've created a Discord server. It's called The Round Table. If you're interested, check out the description, possibly the pinned comment, and let's get that server going. I'll talk more about it at the end, but I just want to give everyone a quick heads up. With that said, for this month, we're back to 12 games, though without an extra original title. How's the new selection from Humble? Well, let's dive in with Maneater, and not the Hall & Oates kind. Well, maybe that kind too. Maneater lets you experience the movie draws as the shark. You swim the water, attack other fish, and even humans. The game has players move from a young shark to the apex predator in a weird and wacky tale of revenge. There are quite a few funny voiceover lines, and the combat and gameplay are very fun. But I also have some small issues here. In that first hour, I finished about a fifth of the story, which is frighteningly fast. The game is supposed to only take about 8 to 12 hours, sadly. Second, the game is also a bit clunky. There's almost a feeling like some controls will only work when they want to. I really like the gore, as I'll try to show here, but it's not that realistic either. In general, this is just a rough game around the edges. Pick this up though if you want to be the shark. You're like the villain in your own tale, terrorizing the sea, but at the same time, this is really fun. It actually reminds me of the good original GTA games, where it's not about pretending the main character is a hero or anything, but rather letting players just have fun in their own playground. Mordhau. Massive medieval melees. Alliteration. Mordhau takes the combat that so many people enjoyed in Kingdom Come Deliverance and adds multiplayer, creating huge battlefields with players rushing across it. The combat is mostly based on melee weapon combat with the focus on parrying attacks and finding openings. In a one-on-one fight that feels exceptionally well done to the point that it could almost be a chess match. Add in large battlefields and there's a focus on more tactical combat where players need to focus not only on single opponents but avoiding being surrounded or getting the enemy to fall into their own ambushes. Still, this is a multiplayer-only game. There is a PvE mode and 3 other modes, but the focus is mostly on large, active battles with interesting objectives. There is a feeling of chaos throughout the game, along with classes and unlockables to help customize your characters. Pick this up if you like a skill-based sword fighting system. This actually reminds me of Kingdom Come Deliverance quite a bit, though without any of the leveling or skill system from that game. I'm not a huge multiplayer fan, but I'm looking forward to playing this one again. This is also in the same realm as Chivalry, but I haven't had a chance to play that one yet. Endzone, A World Apart, a post-apocalyptic game focused on resource management and worker placement. Endzone starts with the player having to restart the civilization. Players will quickly have to start getting food, water, and eventually scrap and wood for their citizens. From there's going to be a large number of requests, tasks, and needs for your civilization. The tutorial in the game takes a very long time, to the point where I actually had to put it aside and just try to play a scenario for myself. You'll see it on screen as I try to build up the world. The thing is, I really don't know how the long version of this game will be. It's a slow, plodding game where I often felt like I had to put the game on maximum speed to get anything done, even in the tutorial. Similarly, this all feels like gameplay I've seen before. There is an interesting mechanic involving searching locations, though I actually only got to experience that once. Pick this up if you like city builders or focusing on worker placement. You need to manually add citizens to every job. Now there's a lot here, and I just can't tell you which way this game's going to go. It's not a bad game, but it's one of those games that's going to take you like 10 hours to figure out whether you're enjoying yourself or not, unless you bounce off it immediately. Beyond the Wire. I'm just going to say it. Unfortunately, this is a dead game. Beyond the Wire was fun. I joined a server with 60 players, I was having a lot of fun, there was fantastic voice chat and the action was great. It really emphasized how horrible World War I and the trench fighting there was, while still being enjoyable. This is a large combat game with up to 50 players per team. The problem is, those 60 players was everyone playing this game right now. The game is barely breaking 100 max active players on Steam right now, and that's accounting for the Humble Choice crowd. I have a feeling that this is going to slip back down to 20 to 30 active players before the month is out. And that's really sad because it's a mechanically solid and interesting game. It's just going to struggle with the player base, and while the game was okay with 60, I think it's going to be rough with fewer players. Don't pick this up. I mean, maybe that's going to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you get the bundle, definitely give this game a shot just to see what the developers have on offer, but the player base is going to crater again soon, and I'm kind of sad about it, but I can't ignore how the story goes every single time. Partisans 1941, stealthily killing Nazis on the Eastern Front. Partisans 1941 is a stealth tactics game. Players control up to 4 characters and use those characters to disrupt Nazi plans and of course attack them. Players are relatively weak, so they aren't able to go toe-to-toe with the Nazis for long, but instead they have to ambush them and use better tactics to thin their numbers. The idea that you're behind enemies' lines feels fresh, and there's a camp development mechanic that I still need to explore. Partisans 1941 is a solid game, but it didn't grab me yet in that first hour. Nothing's really wrong here, it's just a slower burn with about 20 hours of gameplay. It also reminds me of Men at War, especially with that inventory system where each character has their supplies and you have to move the ammo around, though the game does have a stronger focus on stealth. Pick this up if you want to play a World War II game where you're the Russians and you're using stealth tactics to kill Nazis, always a good thing. A lot of people say this is like Desperados 3 or Shadow Tactics. Truthfully, I haven't played either of those for long enough to make that comparison myself, even though I own one of them. If you're okay with the slower gameplay though, this might be worth trying out. The Survivalists, a survival game done in the escapist style. The Survivalist starts like any survival game. You wake up on an abandoned island and start farming minor items to build axes, shovels, and clubs. This is a common setup, but the graphics and style here work well, as does the crafting system. Players can quickly progress through recipe charts, always able to see what they need to craft each item, and clear progression is available throughout the entire charts. Basically, build the prior item to get to the next. The big addition to the Survivalist is monkey automation. You heard that right. You use a monkey to automate mundane tasks, and that adds just enough to feel fresh early on. There's supposed to be a good amount of content here, at least like 20 hours, and a mix between standard crafting and farming for loot, as well as exploration, and theoretically you should be able to eventually get off the island. Pick this up if you enjoyed The Escapist or want a solid survival game. I'll be honest, I didn't really like The Escapist, but I still enjoyed this one quite a bit. At the same time, this is a very saturated genre, and if you're not looking for a new survival game, this might not be able to hold your interest. Lacuna, a sci-fi noir adventure. That subtitle pretty much stole what I was going to say here. It's a sci-fi detective story. Lacuna starts by telling players there's no rolling back or manual saves. What happens in the game happens, and that alone makes Lacuna feel really good. Every decision, every choice has consequences where you can't just try a different path. You play as a special agent detective who is called in to investigate the murder of a space diplomat. It really sounds far out, but it feels quite relatable even if it is set in the future. The main gameplay is detective style. The player will talk to numerous witnesses, investigate different objects, and have to solve multiple sheets as they're called, basically answering important questions put to the player. On screen, I'm currently trying to figure out which building a sniper shot from. The only real issue I can see is with the lack of rolling back and the fact that these decisions in the game do matter. So there's going to be alternate endings, and having to play through the entire game a second time will suck. Pick this up if you like point-and-click adventure games or solid stories. There appears to be an interesting thread here already, and it's one that I really want to follow. At the same time, there doesn't appear to be any action, and the game mostly involves solving, rather solid but challenging puzzles. 8 Doors, a room's afterlife adventure. Korean folklore in an amazing graphical style. 8 Doors blew me away. The game is filled with some of the best looking animations I've ever seen. The art is consistently great to the point where I really wasn't sure which part of the game to show off. The story is interesting as it's based in Korean folklore, which, unsurprisingly, I'm not really well versed in. However, it involves a child going to purgatory to help her father's spirit. I'm hooked after the first hour. 8 Doors has a Metroidvania style with multiple places that tease the player to return once they get new powers. There's a good number of collectibles, and the main character has already changed forms in my game into a great looking frog character. The combat is challenging but fair, though do remember to dodge, that's quite important on that first boss. Pick this up if you like platformers or if you like the art style here. This is a game that consistently impressed me with its animations, music, and more. The gameplay is very challenging but worth trying to master. Greak, Memories of Azur, an extremely challenging but beautiful platformer. Almost like I just talked about a game like this. I'm going to talk about the graphics again because Greak is also a beautiful game with fantastic style, animation, and gameplay. Greak is a platformer that has some nice puzzles, nothing too hard just yet, but this is a game that pushes the player to explore for quests rather than just move through levels on a linear path to get to the destinations. Greak also teases the ability to control 3 characters, however, it also quickly removes that once the real game starts. I kind of hate those fake outs. At the same time, this is a pretty hard game. I struggled early on and then focused on dodging and rolling out of the way of attacks. That's kind of normal for a platformer, but where Greek really ups the difficulty is it doesn't restore your health when players save the game, and can be a little brutal at times with new enemies. There's also a small inventory size. Of course, players will get better, but I found Greek to be very challenging in a good way. Pick this up if you like platformers that will push your limits. I'm not sure how far the puzzles will go, and they are solid, but I do think this is more action-based than a deep puzzle challenge. Still, it's a great game that I'd like to return to so I can see more of it, and as you can see on screen, it looks great. Fling to the Finish, a fantastic couch co-op game. Fling to the Finish has two players controlling two orbs connected by a tether. Players have to work together to get to the end of the level without cutting the tether or falling off the platform. It's a simple idea, but the level design here is pretty amazing. One player goes right, one player goes left, laser in the center, and suddenly you're back at the last checkpoint, which is thankfully plentiful in this game. My daughter and I played it as a team, and it was a lot of fun. Racing through the levels and trying to find hidden objects was great, and also just working as that team. I also tried playing single player, and while it still works, it's just not as fun. The level design here though is great, and there's currently 4 different modes per level: an item hunt mode, a time trial, a coin collection mode, and then a bomb mode, which is kind of a different type of time trial. Each one feels different and was fun to play through. Pick this up if you have someone to play with. Each team in this game is local co-op only, and while you can play single player, I think it lacks the fun factor. There is online matchmaking so you can play against other teams, but I wasn't able to find a match. This game is also in early access, but there's a decent amount of content here. This is also a great game to play with a young child or spouse who usually doesn't play games. Tohu, a point-and-click adventure in the what was the dev thinking variety. Tohu looks great, and yeah, again, I'm going to be talking about the graphics because look at this game, it's a feast for the eyes. Every area, every level, every object has so much care and detail in it, I'm amazed. The art shines and it's fun to just click around a level to see what you can move, even if it is a small idle animation. Tohu is about clicking around a level and trying to figure out what the devs were thinking. It's a style of point-and-click game where players are supposed to figure out how to manipulate the world to achieve their goals. However, what that goal is can be part of the puzzle. Overall, it's a good concept, but it's only going to resonate with some people. Pick this up if you like Machinarium or Sama Roast, both by Maneater Designs. Sorry if I butchered any of those names. I thought this might be from the same company because of how similar the style is. It's not. At the same time though, this is a short adventure, only about 4 to 5 hours, and it can be obtuse at times. Vodigo, one of the most colorful roguelites. Yes, once more, look at this game. I mean seriously, this is another amazing sight to behold. Vodigo looks incredible and plays well too. While the base game does share a lot with Nuclear Throne, it also adds a lot of style to the formula. Whether it be a weapon that just is playing the bones of a skeleton, or a tuna gun, or add-ons that give your character a pair of spider legs as they move faster, Vodigo impresses. Vodigo focuses on finding and stomping diamond-shaped voids, which will unlock the boss's health bar for players to burn down. There's also an upgrade system for your home base that hopefully will have a lot to discover. Technically, this is actually still early access. It's only 0.1.5, which seems really low, but I also didn't even realize this was early access until looking into the game after my session, which is a good sign. The game was super fun on its own. Pick this up if you like roguelites or colorful games. This dazzled me to the point where I might want to play more just to see what else is out there. It reminds me a lot of Atomicrops with its bright colors and style, and I'm glad to see a developer infuse a real psychedelic color into the game rather than just use another drab mix of brown and black. And while this is normally where I talk about the bonus game, Humble really didn't include one this month, so I guess it's time we talk about the full bundle. I don't know if you noticed, but I called out the graphics on a lot of these games. This was a very artistic month. 8 Doors, Greak, Vodigo, even Lacuna and Fling to the Finish have so much style. There's a good mix in the styles of the game too, from open world, multiplayer, platformers, and co-op. While Humble returned to 12 games, I kind of am going to ask why. Beyond the Wire really feels out of place, with the developer hoping to make one last push to save the game. It is in early access and it is a good game, but I don't see why it was included in the bundle itself. Otherwise though, I think this was a solid month with a lot of variety. In addition, none of these titles have been bundled before, though that's only true because Jingle Jam came out the day after this bundle. Fling to the Finish is available in Jingle Jam. Still, this should be a very fresh bundle for those who collect games. I'm just going to get to the rankings. This month I've added 2 tiers. It's the American School style, A, B, C, D, and of course everyone's favorite grade, F. We're going to start at the bottom with the F tier first. And the only game in the F tier is Beyond the Wire. I also feel like I'm harping on this game, and I apologize. I will absolutely admit I'm looking down on it though, but it's because I've seen the story multiple times. Beyond the Wire is a very technically solid game. It just doesn't have a player base, and unfortunately that's always going to be a problem with an online-only game. Even currently there's only about 100 players max a day, which barely would fill a full game. And from there we're going to just move on to the D tier here. There's again only one game in D tier, and that is Partisans. This is a game that does what it wants to do well. The stealth seems solid, the combat works, and the gameplay would be what someone wants, but it's also very slow to start. I'm sure there's an audience for this game, but I'm not sure I could really recommend this one to anyone in particular. I don't have a specific complaint, but I just don't have a desire to return to it. And this is where we stand after 2 tiers down. Like I said, it is a very positive month. However, we're going to be going into the middle of the chart now, and there are a few entries this time around. As a reminder, I try to keep these in relatively ascending order, but of course this is all personal opinion. If you have your own, feel free to let me know down in the comments. We'll start C tier with Endzone: A World Apart. Endzone is interesting. The problem is, I can't tell if it's just very slow to start or an overall dull game. Forcing the player to play on a high-speed setting to even make it through the tutorial makes me think this is going to be frustratingly slow to play. At the same time, it is at least an interesting concept, but I think it's really on the border of slipping to D. Next up in C tier is the Survivalists. I really like that monkey, and I want to see more of this game, but it's also just similar to so many other survival games that it's going to take a lot to stand out. I also found myself struggling with the controls, but maybe that's being new to them. This is a game I'd say you'd probably take or leave equally, exactly what I would give a C2. Finally in C tier, there's Tohu. I really like this art, but I also question who's going to enjoy this. As I said, this is like Machinarium, a very special style of game. The length is also a bit short, but I still want to return and see more of the beautiful and interesting world. This is actually really close to being a B, but I think it just misses it. And that's where we stand after the C tier. 5 games down, 7 to go. That's across the top 2 tiers. Now there are 5 games in the B tier, making it the biggest category, so you might as well get started. And the first game in B tier is Fling to the Finish. If you have someone to play with, definitely play this with them. Even if they're not a gamer, they're probably going to enjoy this one, and this game is so much fun with 2 players. It's just on the cusp of slipping lower because I'm not 100% sure, but that level design does have me wanting to see the entire game. The next game in B tier is Lacuna. Mechanically solid game with a well-told story. I'm a sucker for a good detective story or a point-and-click adventure game, and Lacuna is both. The fact that the puzzles require some deduction and filling in a sheet makes them feel much more interesting and challenging, and that's a good feeling. And then there's Vodigo. Vodigo's style pushed it above other roguelites, but the weapon design helped a lot too. There's one thing that I didn't mention. The dodge mechanic in the game is actually a leap that can be used to stomp enemies. Simple, effective, and a pretty major change for the genre. I really want to see more of this. Next up we have Maneater. This is the only game I had wishlisted and I was keeping an eye on. Now that I've played it, I'm ready for more. However, this is also a game that's sorely in need of a lot more polish. This could have been almost a AAA title, at least at quality level, possibly even with the same style of story and humor. It just feels like the developers didn't put in the effort or polish to push these systems to the level they needed to be at. And finally, we have Greak, Memories of Azur. I like this game, but the one issue that keeps it from the top tier is I fear the challenge and how much players will be able to progress across the game. Still, this is a game I'll be returning to if I get the time, and who knows, maybe if it has a sharp difficulty curve only at the beginning, this could easily slip up to an A tier as well. And that's the B tier. 2 games left. So which order will the final 2 titles be in? When I call something an A tier, I usually mean it's a heavy recommendation, the reason why someone would buy the bundle just for one of these games, and I think both of these games are worthy of that. The first game in A tier is 8 Doors. Amazing graphics, gameplay, and a fresh story that makes me want to see more. The controls feel tight, and already there's an overwhelming urge to backtrack with new abilities so I can find every little secret. That's a great feeling for a Metroidvania. And the top game of this month is Mordhau. I enjoyed my time with this game a lot, and like I said, I'm really not a huge multiplayer fan, that's not a lie. The deep sword combat may be frustrating at times, but once you throw in with the large melees, the objective-based gaming, and the chaos of the battlefield, this is just a wild and frenzied battle with deep combat. I'm definitely going to be playing more of this one. And that's what I have for this month. I'm glad Humble could deliver one last great bundle to cap 2021, and I hope everyone can find something interesting in this list. Feel free to tell me what I got right or wrong down in the comments, and what you hope is coming for 2022. Maybe Yakuza 4? Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I just hit 3,000 subscribers. I really just want to say thank you again. I'm just an old guy yelling at clouds, literally cloud gaming, and the fact that you're enjoying my rambling means a lot to me. I've said it before, but the views and the subscribers is what keeps me going. And again, I want to announce my new Discord server. The name is simply The Roundtable for a reason. This isn't intended as a server just for me, but a place everyone can join and feel like they have an equal part in. It's rather new, but I'm hoping to see all of you there. The link will be in the description, and again, hopefully the pinned comments, depending if I've already gotten up to post it. Sadly, I still need to say the normal YouTube mantra, but if you're new here, please consider subscribing and joining those subscribers, and remember to ring that bell. If you've enjoyed the video, remember to like it, and keep commenting and sharing. Both of those are helpful to the entire channel. Anyways, I'm going to be putting up 2 more videos. I hope you enjoy them. I will be working on a Game of the Year, but at this time, it's probably going to be at least next month, if not February. I'll talk more about that another time. See you next time.